we're going to do a quick plant herbal monograph, basically a video monograph of this plant right here. This is mullein. We're going to talk about some of the identifying characteristics and some of the uses. So just a few identifying characteristics of the mullein plant. Has these really soft, fuzzy leaves on it. Ashley's going to talk about some of the herbal uses of these leaves as well. But it's a biennial plant, meaning it's 2 years. And so it starts as a basal rosette. At the base, it looks like a rose at the bottom. The second year, it grows up tall. It sends up this stalk right here. And you see it has yellow flowers. They close at night, you know, and they open up during the morning. And so they have irregular flowers. They have 2 lobes, basically 2 petals up and 3 petals down. So it's an irregular flower. And they have those 5 petals. So mullein is in the figwort family. That's Scrophulariaceae, a very interesting Latin family name. But the Latin on this one is Verbascum thapsus.
Okay, like Stuart said, this is mullein, and the Latin is Verbascum thapsus. There are some other mulleins in the United States, so you want to make sure that if you're working with this plant for medicine, this is the main one that is used. You'll want to look for that. Like Stuart said, it has that basal rosette, and then it sends up this flower stalk. Typically it's just a single flower stalk. It doesn't branch. Sometimes if it has been cut, it will have a couple branches, but typically you're going to see this. And it can range, depending on where it's growing, how happy it is, it can be very, very tall. This one is a smaller one, really. We see them alongside the road, much taller than this. So this is a good time to look for mullein. Each of these, so the flowers bloom irregularly around the flower stalk, and then it'll form seed capsules inside of there. And those seed capsules contain, I can't remember exactly how many seeds in there, but the whole plant can produce 100,000 to like 240,000 seeds per plant. So it is not native to the United States, but and some, there are, I think, 2 states that have listed it as a noxious weed, but typically it doesn't present a huge problem in pastures and things unless there's constantly disturbed or overgrazed soil. The seeds have to germinate on bare ground. So in that sense, it's actually doing a good thing in most places, because like Stuart's talked about in some of the other videos, you want to cover the ground. You don't want to leave exposed soil. So that's what this plant is really good at doing. So a degraded pasture might have a lot of mullein in it, but as other things get established, it won't be able to keep reproducing like at the same rate. So because we know that this is not native and it's fairly abundant here in the United States, it's a good plant to work with for most people. I mean, as a beginner, you're not in danger of over harvesting or eradicating this plant or any of that kind of stuff. It's really resilient. It does have a really deep taproot, so you're going to want to make sure that you harvest in a place that is safe to harvest from, that hasn't been sprayed in the last few years, because this plant can kind of bioaccumulate some of those things. It's good for helping remediate soil, like we were talking about a minute ago, so it's going to help with that. So if you're working with it in food medicine, you don't want to have high concentrations of things going into your body that the plant is helping reduce from the soil. Very fuzzy leaves. And some people call this cowboy toilet paper, but I would be really, really cautious in using it that way, because for most people, these hairs on here can be kind of irritating. So before you go use this on your sensitive areas of your body, you might want to test it on your arm first and make sure that it doesn't cause that. Because for some people, it can be like rubbing fiberglass on your hands or your arms, you know, after working with it. Which, yeah, right, you don't want that. Anyway, so just test it out somewhere safer first. But that doesn't mean that you can't work with it in medicine. The leaves are used in herbal medicine. So people use it for all kinds of respiratory issues. And to do that, you would make a tea or a tincture, or some people like to smoke it. So yeah, there's different ways that you can work with the leaves. And then the flowers themselves, we infuse them in oil. A lot of people like to work with it for ear infections and things like that. Or they might combine it with garlic. And some herbalists also like to work with the root. And so the root, at this stage, is not a good time to work with the root. You're going to want to work with the root when it's still that basal rosette, before it sends up the flower stalk, because the energy of the plant now is up here making seeds, trying to reproduce the plant. It's not in the root anymore. So if you want to work with the root, yeah, check out Jim McDonald. He's a really experienced herbalist, and he's the one that I learned about working with the root for spinal alignment. There's this thing called Doctrine of Signatures, where you can look at a plant and maybe tell what it might be used for based on how it looks. So this one does kind of remind me of a knobby spine, especially the top part. And just a reminder, this is all educational information. We're not recommending you try any of this without consulting your doctor. We're not diagnosing, treating, preventing, or curing any diseases here. Thanks for watching. If you use Mullein, why don't you drop in the comments how you work with it. If you are new to Mullein and you want to keep learning other new plants, go ahead and tell us what you might be interested in the comments too. And we'll keep putting out good videos for you guys. Thanks.
Hello. No, this is stupid. Okay, ready?
It's like saving.
Hi. I am Stuart. This is Ashley.
Is it close?
We're Restoration Farms.